Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 2019, the first day of spring. Hello, and welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of March 21st through the 27th, 2019. This report covers the third quarter of the new moon at 15 degrees Pisces that we had on March the 6th. Weekly summary. Well, on Thursday, the 21st, we've got two Venus aspects, both in the early morning. Venus square Mars and Venus sextile Jupiter. And then on Friday, the 22nd, we've got a long moon void of course from the late morning until the early evening. On Sunday, the 24th, we have the second pass of Mercury conjunct Neptune while Mercury is retrograde. As well, the moon is void of course for a few hours in the evening. On the 25th, Monday, the moon in Sagittarius all day with the moon trine sun in the morning should make it a very inspirational day. And then on Tuesday the 26th, we've got Venus entering Pisces, and the moon is void of course from the early evening until Wednesday morning. And then on Wednesday the 27th, Venus sextile Uranus in the morning, along with the last quarter moon in the evening. So let's begin with Thursday, March the 21st. We start in the very early morning, just an hour after midnight, with Venus squaring Mars. And that'll be at 23 degrees of Aquarius to 23 degrees of Taurus. So today we assert our individuality, even if it runs counter to our usual behavior. Mars in Taurus has a hard time compromising, and we aggressively cling to our possessions and our values and our personal space, all things having to do with Venus. And this aspect moves us to establish well-defined boundaries in our one-to-one interactions with others. We don't allow others to push us around. We're more assertive about our personal space. And so in that sense, it's really good because it helps us establish well-defined boundaries, but sometimes that happens in an aggressive, not very diplomatic way, so just be mindful of that. It does bring more physical energy, along with more sexual desire. You might be feeling a bit impulsive and less conscious of the rights of others, and in our one-to-one interactions, we're just not as diplomatic as usual. This aspect could bring some extra energy for your creative and artistic projects. Mars inspires you to commence work on things that you've been wanting to do but haven't found the time for. So whichever way you look at it, this aspect really all comes down to forming healthy boundaries with others. And if you have those already, then this aspect really isn't a challenge at all. It's really just sort of a burst of energy, which can be used in any productive way. And I would say coupled with the next aspect, it brings a desire to earn money as well. Pursue some opportunity for material gain, because you'll see here we've got Venus sextiling Jupiter also in the morning on Thursday, and this brings a very pleasant disposition, optimistic. Well, I should mention it's 23 degrees of Aquarius to 23 degrees of Sagittarius, and that's also going to bring on the Mars quincunx Jupiter, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But first, the Venus sextile Jupiter, which is a very pleasant aspect. In a way, kind of the opposite of the previous, because here we're very diplomatic and also kind of carefree, easygoing, not really interested in work, not really all that assertive. Also, we have a pleasant disposition and we're rather optimistic. So there's really no bad side about this aspect, except maybe a little bit lazy. It's not an aspect for hard work or careful attention to detail. It's more an aspect for socializing, having a good time, spending money, especially on luxury items. We enjoy existing relationships, and we want to make new ones. It's also a good aspect for making art or inspired to make something beautiful, including yourself. Desire to beautify yourself, make your environment more pleasant, your surroundings. So desire to earn more money, looking for opportunities for financial gain. There's also, I should mention, it's a great aspect for yoga. You always want to note when we get a nice sextile between these two signs Sagittarius to Aquarius, because we really are more flexible during these aspects. Sagittarius loves to stretch, and Aquarius loves to move the body in new ways. It's kind of the perfect opportunity for a morning yoga session. Continues 23 degrees of Taurus and 23 degrees of Sagittarius. And this one makes us impulsive, pushy, and basically trying too hard to help others, even to the point of telling others how to lead their life. And it's much like the Venus square Mars from earlier today, in that it goes along with the same general theme of learning to establish healthy personal boundaries. This aspect shows us where we go overboard and we try too hard. In our enthusiasm, which is a Jupiter trait, sometimes we become aggressive, like Mars, and that's what leads to problems. So be cautious of pushing yourself beyond your normal limits, or pushing others, trying to lead others when they're really not asking for your help. And also, I should say, avoid getting caught up in get-rich-quick schemes, because that's one of the things that Mars in Taurus tends to do. You could easily be led astray by the ambitions of others, and someone could really take you for a ride. So it's something that you really want to pay attention to. It can be kind of a subtle energy, but I thought it was just kind of interesting that we have this synchronicity here between Jupiter, Venus, and Mars today, and the whole theme just seems to be about establishing healthy personal boundaries, and this one shows us where we go too far and how we need a little self-restraint. Okay, moving along to Friday, March the 22nd. We start in the middle of the night with the moon square Saturn. This one makes our emotions contract, makes us inflexible, and reactions slow to a crawl. And then later in the morning, the moon square Pluto. Folks are sensitive and easily hurt, kind of apprehensive and reserved. Social interactions are challenging. It brings obsessions with an issue and sudden urges, but it forces you to deal with your emotions honestly. You're able to isolate yourself and analyze an issue and make internal corrections. And as usual, you want to avoid emotional entanglements around those tough Pluto aspects. It's not a good time for social interactions. But it gets a bit better later in the morning. You're going to have the moon sextile Jupiter and the moon trine Venus also in the morning. Now with the moon sextile Jupiter, it brings a very pleasant disposition. We're congenial and optimistic. Inhibitions subside, and this one is a good time for social interactions. People are really in the mood for socializing, especially with the moon in Libra. And then a wonderful trine, moon in Libra, trine Venus in Aquarius. It happens later in the morning. Very pleasant aspect. Folks are in a really good mood, passive and not aggressive, and relationships fare very well. And then we have a void, of course. So then it becomes kind of a slow Friday afternoon until the early evening when the moon enters Scorpio. So we're more resourceful and determined for the next couple of days. This is a time of emotional regeneration, during which time stuff comes up, intense emotions, fixations. Now we're more reserved because we're more aware of the subtle undercurrents of energy around us and how they affect us. It's a good time for cleaning and repair around the home. Benefits come from communal activities. The Scorpio energy is the community, and when the moon enters Scorpio, we need to feel like we're part of the community. And also benefits come from just movement and activity. You want to keep moving, otherwise the stagnant energy builds up and causes anger and general frustration. Moving keeps the energy flowing, and you discover that you have more energy than you thought. Become very resourceful. And then the moon opposition Uranus later in the evening. Well, now that Uranus is in Taurus, it's going to start revealing things at the opposition to Scorpio. And this moon opposition to Scorpio is really just the start of a general theme that we're looking forward to for the next 7 years, as Uranus, being the light bearer, begins to bring light to things that are in the dark, things that are in Scorpio. And in this case, it would be our obsessions, our emotional obsessions, because it's the moon. And this aspect, like all of these Uranus oppositions to Scorpio, is going to bring out a lot of rebellious behavior, the desire to break out of the norm, try something new, break free of oppressive emotional bonds. It could cause tensions, as well as bring about some powerful and enlightening encounters. After all, it's the opposition, and the opposition brings encounters, often powerful ones. And in this case, you can meet someone who is very Uranian in nature, someone who has a lot of wisdom, someone who changes your life or has a profound effect upon your life. That's the kind of quality we may see with these Uranus opposition planets in Scorpio. Okay, and that one will be on Friday evening, so that should make for an exciting Friday night. Moving along to Saturday, the 23rd, we have just one aspect, and it's very late in the evening, just before midnight. Moon trine Neptune. This one makes us sensitive, brings up lots of healing energy. That trine from Scorpio to Pisces, it's all about resolving some psychological issue and letting it dissolve. So it's a lot of healing energy, a lot of water. The ability to share your feelings with others, and as well have time for others or give yourself for another to help them resolve some issue or just to be supportive. Okay, moving along to Sunday, the 24th. Just after midnight, we have the moon trine Mercury. Again, it's Scorpio to Pisces, so a lot of water. Emotions flow into our communications. We're able to share our feelings and resolve issues. You may have a deep, meaningful encounter or conversation with someone, something very soulful. A really good time for writing. Art and music reflects your soul. So if you stay up late on Saturday evening, you can get the best of that one. And then in the wee hours of the morning on Sunday, Moon sextile Saturn. Benefits come from attending to work and responsibility. We're focused and determined and able to care for others. It brings about a lot of sincerity, especially in these signs. And then later in the morning on Sunday, we're getting the Mercury conjunct Neptune. And that'll be right here, as you see, at 16 degrees of Pisces. And the first pass was on February the 18th. So this is the second pass in this grouping, I should say. And the third pass is coming not too long from now on April the 2nd. So basically this aspect has been in effect since middle of February. And from now until April the 2nd, it's really strong and we're really in the thick of it. Neptune and Pisces tend to cloud things out, so it's easy to miss the details because Mercury is concerned with information. And sometimes we don't get all the information that we need. We've had to reread things 2 and 3 times. Sometimes we have to repeat ourselves or ask others to repeat themselves just to make sure that we get the information correct. The mind always seems to be thinking about some other aspect of the situation or angle that hasn't been considered. So it's really not a good idea to sign contracts or make deals. The mind is kind of scattered. Travel and communications are characterized by missed connections and confusion. The energy of Mercury, which rules communication and travel, is diffused and not focused. And retrograde turns the energy inward. So that's what we've been experiencing for a little while now. And along with the new moon in Pisces, it's having, I think, a pretty profound effect on us. Very spiritual effect. And I know some folks think this is kind of a heavy one, but I have a lot of optimism for this particular Mercury retrograde period due to all of the positive aspects that we're having. And I consider this to be one of them. But in general, a lot of things are ending, bringing a lot of resolution. It's a time of endings. And your regular, everyday state of mind is changing because, after all, Mercury rules the conscious thought processes. And as we're retrograde in Pisces, those regular, everyday thought processes are dissolving. The usual thoughts and opinions that keep you mentally occupied on a daily basis are dissolving, dying off, leaving a big blank space in the mind. So it seems kind of confusing, but there's a lot more space in there now. Space to develop your connection to spiritual source. Although sometimes we feel like we're becoming unhinged. Really, we're becoming unhinged from things that we should become unhinged from. And this gives us that space to reconnect with spiritual source. It also brings up all sorts of memories of the past because, Pisces represents things that have been swept under the rug and forgotten about. Oftentimes that includes our hopes and our dreams. And sometimes our greatest creative expressions remain unrealized until we pull them out from under the rug and bring them back to life. So we really need these times in our lives in order to recuperate lost elements of self. Give ourselves another chance. But it also requires a lot of soul searching, and it's a time of reckoning. Looking back and seeing what you've lost as your mind got occupied by other things or distracted by other things. And what's great is that this can be a time of great inner rediscovery, uncovering hidden or lost spiritual talents, reconnecting with your spiritual source once again, reclaiming your innocence. This aspect is very expansive, like the ocean. Pisces is very expansive. It gives you the chance to cover vast distances, consider concepts far beyond your normal range, realize you are just a drop in one great ocean. It helps to dissolve the ego and gain a much greater vision of who you are as a spiritual being and your place in the grand scheme of things. It's a time of deep introspection to bring about greater spiritual awareness, and I encourage folks to develop and use your creative visualization skills. Spend time in meditation. Doing that can completely change your state of mind for the better. You could understand the spiritual reasons why for things that have been stymieing you for a long time and maybe you couldn't figure them out. Meditation can give you insight that you never thought you had. And it's how I get through these times, and it's always something that makes things turn out better. Whatever it is, it always seems to turn out better if I add a little meditation to the recipe. So I offer guided meditation to anyone who is interested. You can contact me. I always leave my links in the description there. But it is a pretty important aspect we should be considering, and I know a lot of folks are thinking about it. Okay, so moving along to the moon aspects we're having on Sunday. In the late morning, we're having the moon sextile Pluto. Now this one gives us a burst of energy. We're focused and determined. It's a bit disruptive, but for the better, as we're able to move on to better circumstances and help others along the way. Again, it's that Pluto and Scorpio is communal energy, so benefits come from participating in the community, being part of the group. And then in the afternoon on Sunday, we have the moon opposition Mars. So this one brings another burst of energy. And again, very focused and determined, especially Mars in Taurus tends to charge ahead like a bull. So it can bring powerful confrontations. We're a bit impulsive and daring, again with more sexual energy and I would say possibly a desire for a challenge. You need to channel the energy into something productive. something useful. And generally, it's not a good time for social interactions. Although later in the afternoon, I should say the early evening, we have the moon square Venus. This one has us feeling rather passive. Although it's kind of hard to express your feelings, and you want to avoid keeping secrets on those squares from Scorpio to Aquarius. They always seem to have implications beyond yourself. They always seem to have social implications. Other people get caught up in your drama. So it's just something I've learned about the square from Scorpio to Aquarius. And then we have a short void, of course, on Sunday evening until the moon enters Sagittarius late in the evening. So we're more spontaneous and optimistic for the next couple of days. Inhibitions subside as we seek to move on and expand our horizons. We're not as interested in work. We more desire freedom to pursue intellectual goals and desire to be with others who share the same philosophy on life. Should make for a very positive Monday, because going along with that moon in Sagittarius, we have moon trine the sun, and this will be in the morning on Monday. And I always like to point out these trines because they are really a very creative time. We could say that this is the high point for creative energy during the month is at these trines. So that's why we should pay special attention to these aspects, especially when they occur in fire signs, as I have noticed. The creative fire within us flows without inhibitions. We're free to express ourselves. In these signs, we're very self-determined while feeling connected to cosmic forces. Very inspirational. Desire to put your plans into action, pursue your big goals in life. And the burst of creative energy is great for just about anything. Whatever project you're working on in the moment is going to make headway. So it's good to apply this energy to something that's kind of important in your life. As I've said, these fire signs just really get us going, really get us out of our seat, and get us moving on some really creative energy. And a little more than a week ago, on Saturday the 16th, we had Moon in Leo, trine Sun in Aries, which gave us a wonderful burst of creative energy. But then we had this long moon void, of course, that followed, and it was a little bit frustrating because I really felt it at the time. I had lots of creative energy, but then we were without direction afterwards. But this time, we've got the moon in Sagittarius all day, giving us lots of creative fire. So it's going to be a really creative day, a lot of positive energy on Monday the 25th. Moving along to Tuesday, March the 26th, we start early in the morning with the moon square Mercury. Unconscious feelings and responses intrude on our communications. Making agreement just to avoid hurting someone's feelings, usually not a good idea, and misunderstandings can happen under those circumstances. In these signs, the mind is just really expansive. It's restless and needs to slow down. I would say long, slow, deep breaths work really well, because that square from Sagittarius to Pisces, it can be a bit much. And we're getting another one of those not long after that in the morning as well, with the moon square Neptune. So this one, again, is very expansive. The personal boundary expands to infinity, or it can, if you're not careful. We feel connected to everyone and to everything. And so it's hard to feel satisfied with the mundane world. The mind takes to fantasy and illusions, to escape. We're very sensitive and in need of sanctuary. So go easy on yourself and others. And then in the early afternoon, more Pisces energy comes into the picture as Venus enters the sign of Pisces, where it will be until April the 20th. So Venus in Pisces is passive and sensitive, and as well compassionate and tender-hearted, which makes Venus exalted in the sign of Pisces, an excellent placement. It inspires art and poetry, especially with Mercury in Pisces as well. I would think we can do a lot of that these days. We're more intuitive during this time. And there's lots of great aspects for Venus in Pisces, just like everything in Pisces these days. There's lots of great aspects and no challenging ones. We're going to have the Venus sextile Uranus tomorrow, and then the conjunction to Neptune, the square to Jupiter, both very expansive, and the sextile to Saturn and Pluto, both very constructive. So, looks pretty good for Venus in Pisces. Among other things, these aspects give us opportunities for financial gain, which is seemingly contradictory to the general message of Pisces, which is concerned with the non-physical world. But along with this expansion of consciousness, we do get opportunities for success in the mundane world. It's a nice mixture of the two. So a lot to look forward to with Pisces these days. And then later in the evening on Tuesday, the always expansive and very jovial Moon conjunct Jupiter. Strong burst of optimism in the evening. Folks are generous and kind-hearted. Also brings a big appetite as we let go of our usual limitations. We don't want to follow the rules when Moon conjuncts Jupiter. As well, we desire to be in a crowd and expand our horizons, move on to something better, better circumstances. And then we've got a void, of course, which continues until Wednesday morning, when the moon enters Capricorn. So we're more focused on the mundane world for the next couple of days, tending to matters of career and long-term survival. We're more self-disciplined and responsible. Emotions contract and responses slow down as we consider things more carefully and move along in a predictable manner. Living in the present moment enables you to rise above the feelings of limitation. And we're going to get the moon sextile Venus on Wednesday morning, and that one brings a pleasant disposition, kind of passive and warm. And then the always exciting Venus sextile Uranus. And this will also be exact in the morning on Wednesday. With this aspect, we're very easygoing, liberal, but not in the political sense of the term. More in terms of just not wanting to control other people, allowing them to be as free as you, wanting to share and accepting of people who are different from you, have different points of view than you do. It's a good aspect for teaching and for learning new things. It gives us the ability to love everyone and see the intrinsic value in everyone. So we want to teach and help others. And Uranus opens us up to learning something new. As well, Uranus is concerned with our process of evolution and is interested in self-improvement. So now is a good time to take the compassionate spiritual energy of Pisces and apply it to something to improve your life, some self-improvement scheme. So we're more open to the spiritual and esoteric teachings. And the sensual earth energy of Taurus, mixed with the Pisces awareness of the non-physical side of things, makes this the perfect combination to explore the possibilities for healing work with crystals and rock medicine. So if you're into that sort of thing, I like to play around with those, and I have quite a few crystals in my house, and I think that there's a lot to that. And just exploring that spiritual side of the physical realm is really something that crystals are kind of made for. So this is the perfect aspect for that, because Uranus really opens us up to trying something new. It's a good day to expose yourself to something new to stimulate your mind. It brings an opportunity to make a positive change in your circumstances. You just have to be open to the opportunity. So we enjoy being surprised today and enjoy the company of people who are different from ourselves. It's a good time to be with friends and associates, and it's a good time for relationships. We're very easy to get along with your partner. We're more accepting of one another, and we don't want to restrict one another. Set one another free. A love of freedom, of independence in self and others. So no rigid attitudes, very open-minded, can bring out out of the ordinary behavior. And relationships that start today are non-traditional, unconventional in nature. And we finish this report with the last quarter moon, which is happening in the evening on Wednesday. And it'll be Capricorn to Aries. So we get the usual crisis or fulfillment as we reach a high point of this month's growth cycle. It can be a very successful time or a very self-critical time, which we sometimes take out on others. Capricorn to Aries, it's that big question, self-discipline versus self-determination. Should I restrict myself or should I do what I want and kind of make my own rules? And sometimes we need to do one or the other in order to strike the right balance. Aries encourages us to be impulsive and spontaneous, while Capricorn inhibits freedom of expression, ostensibly for greater gains in the long run. So you always have to make that judgment call. So that's it for this report. That's all for weekly astrology notes. Once again, thanks for viewing. Please subscribe and please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. And just to let you know, I am a practicing astrologer. And if you're interested in getting a reading from me, please contact me at mobilestar7@yahoo.com or through my weblog or my website. And I always leave links in the description. And I'm also available for guided meditations and long-distance Reiki healings. And I love to share those with others as well. So please give me an email and let me know if you're interested. All right, so have a great week. Many blessings, and be good to yourself.